obviously, a little pep in our step today. Mm-hmm. The Wisconsin win was massive. It really was a massive win. I don't think there was ever a real serious notion that the Democrats would win in Florida's 1st and 6th, although it was a scary run, I think, for these Republicans there. But they closed the gap by 15 points. And there's a whole bunch of stuff to take from this. But here is Harry Anton breaking down Elon Musk's impact on this Wisconsin Supreme Court race. There's a couple of things to keep in mind here. One, the reason why we paid so much attention to this race, well, of course, Wisconsin's very important, and it could impact gerrymandering down the road in Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
And unwinding some of this, particularly for congressional districts, which could add a House seat or two coming from Wisconsin, maybe 3, I don't know. But it also understand that Donald Trump has been able to, in part, to cow all of the Republican lawmakers because of the threat of Elon Musk dumping a ton of money into primary races and running against them. And what Elon Musk just did was essentially send the message that he is toxic and that his money is toxic. And we're going to see, and you add that to what happened in Florida, where after Pennsylvania, we saw the same dynamic.
15 points in Pennsylvania, and that's in that state Senate race. Flip to see.
Now, there's
15 points in Florida, too.
We don't know if that's going to translate directly into midterm elections because we anticipate a slightly higher turnout. Although the Wisconsin turnout was...
Oh, my gosh. 2.4 million people. That's a 40% increase from the last Supreme Court election in Wisconsin, which was 2023. There are only 3.8 million registered voters. That's incredible turnout.
Relative to a midterm.
This is why we liked Ben Wickler for DNC chair, by the way. Relative
to the last midterm, it was only 100,000 less voters.
Yeah.
So, and the Wisconsin, Crawford won by well over 250,000. So
yeah.
This is a bad sign
and
for the midterms.
Broke the record for the most amount of money spent in a judiciary election in the history of this country, and he lost by 10 points. That's the top line.
We should also add, they ran out of ballots in a bunch of places in Milwaukee. I mean, so, like, Wisconsin is about as bad as it could be for Republicans, and just on a sheer numbers basis. But add in this, like, it runs counter to what had been being used to discipline Republican lawmakers, because Elon now looks like a liability as opposed to, in these elections, as opposed to some type of hammer. So here is CNN.
Let's start with a little bit of Wisconsin, right? An amuse-bouche on Wisconsin. This was a race. Elon Musk spent big in this race to sway the Supreme Court race there. And he also went to Wisconsin, which may honestly have backfired.
Yeah, I think it may have backfired. Look, I think if there's one thing we should be taking away from the results in Wisconsin and the polling that we have from Wisconsin and national, if you are a Republican candidate running in a swing state, you don't want Elon Musk anywhere near you. Yes, maybe you like the money, but you do not want his presence in your state. Why is that? Elon Musk simply put is an unpopular guy. He is political poison. Look in Wisconsin, his net favorable rating, minus 12 points, 12 points underwater. That is an even worse number when you look nationally. Look at that. It's minus 17 points. So if there's one big lesson to take away from Wisconsin is Elon Musk does not help Republicans when he shows up. If anything, the data suggests that he hurts them. Republicans, stay clear of Elon Musk if you want to win in a swing state, at least in terms of his physical appearance in your state.
What do we see in terms of swings in Florida?
What do we see in the terms of swings in Florida? You know, we were talking about Florida 6, and you can see it here. The election margins in the U.S. House District, Donald Trump won the 6 by 30 points. Last night, what did we see? We saw the Republican Randy Fine win by 14. That's a swing of 16 points. But that's not anywhere near the swing we saw in Florida 1. Look at that. Donald Trump won it by 37 points. The Republican won last night, but only by 15. That's a 22-point swing. We're talking about an average 19-point swing from the baseline back in 2024 in just a matter of 4 or 5 months. These are massive shifts. These are massive shifts to the left. Democrats really have to like this, even if the Republicans added to their majority in terms of what this potentially means down the road. You take this type of swing, you put it on some swing districts, that's very good news for Democrats.
Now, all of us who have this certain political sickness over the last 24 hours, we're talking about Kansas, Harry. Why are we focused on Kansas?
Kansas is on my mind, and it's not just because I want to go home, Toto. Look at this. Kansas 4th District election margins. If you go back in time to 2017, what did we see? You know, you remember back in 2016, Donald Trump won the 4th District by 27 points. And then all of a sudden, this ruby red district, Ron Estes won in April of 2017, but just by 6. Ergo, a 21-point swing. Very similar to that average 19-point swing we saw in those deep red districts last night in Florida. And then you say, okay, this tells us something about the political environment going into 2018, where Republicans, of course, lost. And of course, generally speaking, we look back, special elections and midterm results. If a party outperforms in a special election since 2005, 5 out of 5 times they won and win the U.S. House. Perhaps last night in Florida is a sign of things to come.
And again,
Good breakdown.
There you have it. Now, look, Donald Trump is a loyal guy. Mm-hmm. He is not the type of guy who is going to jettison Elon Musk.
Throw somebody overboard just because everybody hates him and he can't buy love in these states. And it's almost like he smells. People don't want to be around him. It's the kind of guy that just has a bad odor when he walks into the room.
On cue, here comes a report from Politico. Breaking
an hour ago.
Scroll down. Trump tells Inner Circle that Musk will leave soon. Scroll down here. This is just 11:17. President Donald Trump has told his inner circle, including members of his cabinet, that Musk is going to be stepping back in the coming weeks as his current role as governing partner.
What?
Ubiquitous cheerleader and Washington hatchet man. Now, here's the thing, is that Musk has done 2 things. He's gone in and he's tried to break our administrative state. And the other thing, again, like we say, he has been the sort of threat that has been hanging over the head of Republican lawmakers. So they're afraid to go to town hall meetings because they don't want to hear how angry their voters are. But they are also, that's like the rock. And the hard place, though, is that Elon Musk is saying, you got to keep doing this and keep your mouth shut, or I'm going to dump a bunch of money into your district and I'm going to oversee your primary loss. But now those people are going if he helps me win in the primary, just that him stink around me is probably going to make me lose automatically in the general.
In the general, right.
But I'm more likely to get support if I get through the primary just generically from Republicans. So it changes the calculation. That's the point. And so this is good news. Hopefully it will make the budget. And right now in the Senate, John Thune is trying to pass this week a budget resolution, which is sort of like the encapsulating legislation that sets up reconciliation. Remember, the Republicans in the House have already voted to essentially cut Medicaid by $800 billion. This budget resolution in the Senate is going to punt all of these different issues so they can just move the ball forward. But one of the issues that they also have to essentially punt, they're trying to use an accounting fraudulent technique. I don't know what gimmick to pretend that the Trump tax cuts, which are set to expire by legislation, aren't going to actually expire. And therefore, they can calculate the baseline for what will be cut in terms of taxes as being a smaller amount going forward, but those taxes will be added in. And they don't think the parliamentarian is going to okay it, but they're deciding that the parliamentarian doesn't have to answer that question.
Right.
That it would be Lindsey Graham as chair of the Finance Committee. And then they're going to wait and see if the parliamentarian says that's okay. But the point being is they're going to pass this resolution without any of these things resolved. And this is a lot more complicated today than it was yesterday because they do not have this hammer of Elon Musk threatening anybody running for office. And so this is a big, big win in Wisconsin.
Huge, and also just reinforces what the core message of the Democrats has to be up until the midterms next year. Focus on Elon, even if he's forced to recede into his little, quiet space and just pour money in without being in the public, because that's what the suggestion is they still want his money. They just don't want his toxic personality and face out there all the time, right? So
I'm sure Musk will not be.
He doesn't have any ego issues at all. So it'll be interesting to see it play out. But making Billionaires and making him the mascot of the Billionaires that the Democrats are taking on, making that the focus is really politically salient and also the right thing to do from a policy perspective. So these two things coming together, it's just a good thing. And can I just read one quote really quickly from
Please.
Pam Van Handel, chair of the Republican Party of Wisconsin's Outagamie County. I'm honestly shocked. I thought we had it in the bag. I thought Musk was going to be an asset for this race. People love Trump, but maybe they don't love everybody he supports. Maybe I have blinders on. Sorry, Pam. You're in a cult.
Nothing
Sorry.
like waking up the next day and go, wait a second, what?
Jeez. Whew.
I mean, that win in Wisconsin, I mean, the 40% more people came out for this race than they did in the Supreme Court race, the last one. Now,
23.
to be fair, that was in 23?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no COVID, there's no nothing. I mean, it is a big deal. And we're at midterm numbers for this. It's just nuts, really nuts. It's a really big deal in Wisconsin in and of itself. And it's going to change ultimately, perhaps, the congressional delegation. It's going to change a lot of things in Wisconsin. We should also just note that in this election, the voter ID requirements were essentially amended to the Constitution, and it won pretty big. This has been law of the land in Wisconsin for 10 years now. It was passed by the Republicans back in 2014. To a large extent, the Democratic Party, Ben Wickler, voting rights advocates, I think the ACLU is in on this. They have spent the past 10 years essentially getting people up to speed and trying to make sure that everyone who has the right to vote has some type of identification. It was a real problem for older people, particularly Black Americans who are older, because many times, when you go back 70, even 60, 80 years, 10, 15, 20 years ago, there just wasn't the documentation in many instances.
I imagine that correlates with poorer older folks too.
Definitely. And the Democrats really did not contest this amendment because in part it was an attempt for Republicans to bring out more of their voters. And I think the strategy was we have already dealt with this as a political matter, as an operational matter. And if we fight this constitutional amendment, we're probably going to lose, A, and B, it could draw out more voters. Now, in retrospect, Democrats did so well in this that it's hard to imagine there was any scenario with this Democratic turnout that the Republicans could turn out people to vote. Because even in the last midterms, I don't think the Republicans achieved the vote tally that Crawford did in this off year, off election, being for the Supreme Court. Here she is at the podium after winning.
You know, just moments ago, I received a phone call from Judge Brad Schimmel conceding the race. As a little girl growing up in Chippewa Falls, I never could have imagined that I'd be taking on the richest man in the world. For justice in Wisconsin. And we won. And Wisconsins stood up and said loudly that justice does not have a price. Our courts are not for sale. And to my friends, justices, Ann Walsh Bradley.
Okay, all right. And that point of the seat not being up for sale is an interesting one, because just the day, was it that day or the day before? I think it was. The video was taken down Tuesday.
Yes.
When it happened, I think it was on Monday. This video, and this video was taken down, and then some patriots put the video back up. Crawford, in her acceptance speech, says this seat was not for sale. Apparently, it was for sale. It's just that Musk did not pay quite enough. Here is one of Musk's recipients. He gave out $3 million, right? For people who ostensibly, the argument was like, I'm not giving it out to people for vote. I'm not bribing people to vote.
Right.
I'm rewarding people who did vote.
Okay. I thought it was two $1 million payments, but it doesn't really necessarily matter.
Or one? Or three, rather.
We're going to look into it.
The other one, I know at least what the other one was by a guy who was coincidentally head of the college Republicans. Is that it? And I mean,
It's just good karma.
oh my gosh.
When the stars align like that, I mean, your candidate's got to win.
What are the odds?
Wait.
Let's ask Grok what the odds are on that.
You gotta be so lucky. And then he ended up weirdly turning off his Twitter feed. But here is a video of Ekaterina Deisler. She's a graphic designer at Bellmark, which is a major contributor to local Republican campaigns. It makes sense that someone who is a supporter of the Republican Party would win this, because that's what Musk was trying to do. And he was trying to bribe people to vote and basically just draw up attention. But they got to vet these scripts. Go ahead.
My name's Ekaterina Deisler. I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin. I did exactly what Elon Musk told everyone to do. Sign a petition, refer friends and family, vote, and now I have $1 million. My name.
Uh-oh.
I did exactly what Elon Musk told me to do, and now I have $1 million.
Apparently, it's not legal to pay people to vote.
Well, actually, here's the full quote. I did exactly what Elon Musk told everyone to do. Sign the petition, refer friends and family, and now I have the updated one. So in the updated one,
they took out
the vote part.
Because you're not allowed to pay someone to vote.
Yep.
Oh, someone just got doged.
I just want to say, Wisconsin, thank you so much for reacting in the correct way to the richest man in the world, coming in and trying to buy your judiciary.
Right. As he talks about Soros and complains about J.B. Pritzker putting some of his money into this race. Like, we need broad campaign finance reform. I think that's an easy sell if the Democrats choose to run on billionaires buying our elections and ruining our government. But because this is not sustainable in the long term, we have to overhaul our campaign finance system, because the billionaires are always going to be on the side of Republicans more so. But in the short term, he's just giving the Democrats a gift to run against Elon Musk. It's showing up in the numbers.
Also, it's a big giant lie. That I think I saw some Republicans talking about this, but if you look at the numbers for spending, where people say it's not even close.
This is in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. It's a helpful graphic. Just how Elon Musk has seemingly contributed more than all of the other donors combined.
Also, Soros is fourth after two other Republicans that, Uline's, people might have heard of that name. I actually don't know who Diane Hendricks is. There's two Ulines in the top 5, so that's great.
Do you think it's like a little bit concerning that this administration is locking up anti-war protesters and claiming that they're anti-Semitic and hating Jewish people? But the Elon Musk and the entire Republican Party regularly traffics in this puppet master conspiracy about George Soros when the facts don't support that he's doing all this. It's super anti-Semitic and it doesn't get called out enough.
Musk is on a bit of a jag on Twitter at the moment.
He was quiet for last night.
He was
for a
quiet,
little bit.
but he's just throwing its stuff out there now about Social Security. He has retweeted, and this is, I love to see this. And this is the first time I heard this in the past 24 hours. And you guys may not be aware of Saul Alinsky and how Saul Alinsky, when Barack Obama was elected in 2008, because Barack Obama was from Chicago, the entire conservative hive mind became convinced that Saul Alinsky was everywhere. And it was incredible. And one of the great things about it is that a lot of people on the left read Saul Alinsky for the first time because they were forced to because of the conservatives. And Saul Alinsky was sort of like a, messaging guy and sort of like a agitpop, maybe you'd call it. But Musk has accuse your opponent of what they're doing to confuse and divide them. Saul Alinsky quote. And then there's pictures of all sorts of Democratic lawmakers with their arms raised in the air as if they're all giving a Sieg Heil, ostensibly to sort of, I guess, say Musk was unfairly maligned. When all he was saying is, I give my heart out to you.
My heart goes out to you.
My heart goes out to you.
Two times.
Twice. So much heart I give to you.
88% of his heart.
Ich ein Harten given to you. And this is fantastic. I honestly, we need to see more Elon Musk. I think everybody agrees with that.
Agreed. More public speaking.
The Valor CEO and Doge volunteer Antonio Garcia says they found 5 million and plus non-citizens with Social Security numbers. One of those people who probably got one of those was an immigrant to this country who wanted to work, ultimately got a visa, probably was part of the EBE program or some similar program, and that would have been Elon Musk.
Could have been.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.